We welcome you to the season finale of Sports Talk. I'm Ted Emmerich. Yes, we finish up the school year with boys golf in McKinney ISD. Now, unfortunately, Boyd coach Jerry Crumpton won't be with us today, but his Broncos had a banner year that ended in Austin with a third-place finish at the state tournament. Now, McKinney North's Gary Hardin will stop by. The Bulldogs had one senior go to the regional tournament. That continues quite a streak at North, and we will have the details on that. McKinney's Chris Rednour will also be here. Rednour's Lions didn't go to the state tournament like last year, but McKinney High fought through a tough season and, like North, has a lot to look forward to next year. We also have our Dennis Baker's State Farm Scholar Athlete of the Week coming up next on Sports Talk. The North Bulldogs did not go to Austin like the Boyd Broncos, but Gary Hardin's team did send a player to the regional tournament in Denton, and Gary joins us now. Gary, your team finished 6th at the district tournament. You sent your lone senior, Spencer Mead, to the regional tournament also in Denton. What will you remember most about this season?
Well, I remember this season as a rebuilding season. We were coming off a real poor year last year. We just didn't play very well at all. We didn't have any top-flight golfers. And so we knew we had some people coming back. And so we started kind of slowly. In fact, we finished last at our first tournament. And so I said, oh, here we go again. But no, really, the kids didn't give up, and I knew we had some talent. And from that point on, we finished in the top 5 in most of the tournaments, top 10 in a few tournaments. And so we really kind of a rebuilding year is what I remember it as.
Finish out in district, like we say, tied for 6th there in Denton. There were some brutal conditions, especially on the second day. At Robeson Ranch, that course kind of lends itself to high winds. How did your team battle through that to finish where they did?
We actually played pretty well. 6th place doesn't sound very good, but we're in a very difficult district, one of the most difficult 4A districts in the state. We've got Highland Park, this one, 7 of the last 8 state championships, or at least 6 of 8. Rockwall's perennial power. Rockwall Heath's a good golf program. J.J. Pierce won state 2 years ago. It's an extremely powerful district. And actually, we played pretty good. We played a little above what we had played there in a tournament earlier in the year. So I was very pleased with our effort.
You've described your team as just a hard-working bunch of guys who love golf, and it seems like your senior, Spencer Mead, personified that kind of hard work. Here's a guy who didn't grow up playing the game. He took it up a few months before he started his freshman year, his high school career, and he's developed into your top player this season. What are you going to miss most about Spencer?
Well, I'll miss several things about Spencer. His work ethic is probably the paramount thing. He's a task-oriented person. Came into the golf program his freshman year, only having played about a year or so, and set his mind that he wanted to be a golfer. And so he did all the things that you have to do, worked after practice, worked on weekends, got lessons, entered tournaments, and just made a slow progression from his freshman year to his senior year. He's been on the varsity for 3 years. His sophomore year he was on the varsity. And he's gotten better every year. So you remember his work ethic. He had good leadership. He really encouraged the guys to do their best, to work hard. And he was just an all-around ideal player that you'd want.
He was 9th at the district tournament. He qualified for the regional back in Denton, same course, 81-84 in his 2 days there. What did you think of his showing at the regional tournament?
He was disappointed, and we were disappointed. He didn't play up to his standards. A lot of reasons for it. I don't think it was the pressure, because he's played so much it wasn't the pressure. The wind had switched around out of the north. It was a completely different golf course with the wind out of the north. And he had trouble on a few holes that normally don't give him trouble, and that, that caused his score to be a little higher. But he competed well, and, we're still proud of him.
This is quite a streak you have going, Gary. 10 of 11 years now that North has had its active golf program up and running. You've sent at least one player to the regional tournament. What does that say about this program?
Well, it's something we're very proud of. It says that we've got some dedicated golfers. Every year, the kids know what the legacy is, and we let them know that we've sent somebody to regionals. And we set those our goal at the beginning of the year. And we talk about it often. We don't just say it at the beginning of the year and then forget about it. We talk about it often, and the kids know the goal, and they set their mind to the goal, and that's what they're shooting for.
Maybe Chris Hillman will be there next year as a senior. He was right behind Spencer at the district tournament, came in 12th place, and this is a guy who transferred in from Boyd. He seemed to fit in pretty well.
He was a welcome addition for us, brought a lot of experience, maturity to the program, knows how to practice, works hard like Spencer did, gets lessons, plays tournaments. He was a real good addition, and really looking for good things from Chris for next year. But he contributed this year. He was all-district, as was Michael Gore and Spencer. We had 3 all-district performers. So, yeah, we're glad to have Chris, and he seemed to be fitting in really well in our program.
Yeah, you bring up Michael Gore. How about him? He's a guy who will have been on the varsity for 4 years by the time his career is over. As you set out to replace what Spencer brought to this team, you certainly count on Chris, but you also count on Michael Gore. You look forward to what he has in store for his senior year.
Michael's a young man that has a wealth of talent. He hasn't been as consistent as we would like and as he would like, but on a good day, he can go down there around par or below. And what we've got to do is get him to playing consistently that way. And if he does, then of course he'll fit in as that #1 golfer. But it's going to be a battle between he and Chris for that #1 spot. I'm looking forward to it. We need that competition.
You'll have 3 more years of Garrison Peppers. What did you like about him as he performed in his freshman year on varsity?
Garrison did real well. It's typically very hard for freshmen because they're coming from playing junior tours where they play shorter tees than the varsity does. There's a lot of adjustments, not to mention the adjustments of moving into the high school, being 3 or 4 years younger than some of the players on the team. He handled it real well. Played #4 most of the year for us, and has really got a good golf game. Another one of those who works hard, practices, after practice, weekends, does all the things that you have to do to improve. And so we're really looking for Garrison to do good things next year.
You have Camden Nichols coming back as well. He's a junior. He'll be a senior next year. And his story mirrors Spencer's just a little bit in that he didn't have that much experience going into his freshman year. What did Camden show you this season?
Well, Camden he was a beginning golfer when he came to us. And Camden has worked extremely hard. He's another one. That's why I told you that these were a hard-working bunch of guys. He's worked extremely hard before and after practice, weekends, and he doesn't have the physical talent that some of the players like Michael and Chris do, but he's overcome that by compensating in other ways. And it's been a slow process, but he's dogged in his determination, and so we're looking for him next year to get that score down in the 80s consistently. This year he was in the 90s most of the time, dipped into the 80s a few times. We're looking for him to consistently get that score down in the 80s and compete a little bit more with some of the other guys. And I think as a senior, he'll be a little more mature, and hopefully we'll get that from him.
Gary, as a coach, you have to like this. You have 4 returning varsity players going into next year. That's a nice foundation. I know you also like a few incoming freshmen for the fall as we get going toward next season. How does this team take a step forward?
Well, like you said, the freshmen that we've got, we've been getting, most of our freshmen have been beginners. These 2 freshmen are pretty good golfers. They've played for a long time, and they're going to bring some experience to us. In fact, they may compete for a varsity position, so that's helpful. Having 4 back is helpful. They've got a lot of tournament experience, which is what you need. And so what we have already started talking about is taking that next step Not only try to finish in the top 5 at tournaments, we want to try to compete to win tournaments. And not only finish, 6th in the district meet, we want to compete for one of those top 2 spots in the district meet. So those are kind of the goals that we've talked about and that we're aiming for.
Gary, we really appreciate the time. Certainly best of luck as you head into the summer now and go into next season.
Thank you, Ted.
Gary Hardin, head coach of the North Bulldogs golf team. They head into the offseason. Spencer Meade heads to BYU. He won't play, but he'll have a fantastic career there in Provo after a fabulous senior year at North. This week's Dennis Baker's State Farm Scholar Athlete of the Week is Stephen Lauterbach from McKinney High School. Stephen's a junior on the Lions golf team. He was a team captain and was named first team All-District. Hard work in the classroom led to academic All-District recognition as well. Outside of school, Stephen mentors on Friday afternoons at Press Elementary. He's also on the youth leadership team at church. Over the last couple of years, Stephen has participated in mission trips to Honduras, Belize, and Colorado. Stephen has contributed to a number of humanitarian mission efforts in McKinney, including the food bank and Habitat for Humanity. That's Stephen Lauterbach from McKinney High School, our Dennis Baker's State Farm Scholar Athlete of the Week. Well, the McKinney Lions came oh so close to a regional berth. They finished 4th in district play, had a chance to finish in that top 2 and advance to the regional round. Chris Rednour, head coach of McKinney High, joins us now. And Chris, yes, that 4th place finish, no state tournament appearance like last year. Some would chalk that up as a disappointment, but what did your team show you this year? You had to like how they battled through a lot of adversity this season.
They did have a lot of adversity this year. Not all of them got to play from the beginning of the year on. We had some injuries and other situations come up, but they really gelled in the spring, and we got 1 first place and 2 second place finishes in pretty big tournaments. And our district is very tough anyway. 9 out of the last 11 state champions are from our district, with Highland Park getting 10 and Pierce getting 1. So that was difficult to go in there, but they battled all the way to the end. It was just some really tough conditions, and the weather, it's Texas in the spring. You're always going to get some tough conditions, and we just fell a little bit short. The good thing is I have a lot of young kids, and next year I'm going to have a very experienced team back, and 3 of the guys have been to state, and I hope we can make it back that far again.
2 guys in Jacob Tatum and Grant Yoder weren't with you in the fall, one for an injury-related reason, and that could crack a team. But it seemed to embolden your guys. They were able to come through that, and this team seemed to really gel in the spring when it counted.
Yeah, Grant broke his arm riding a skateboard, so we have a no skateboard rule now. And he was playing his best golf of his life going in the summer. But when he came back and Jacob came back, we won the very first tournament we played in the spring. So that really lifted my spirits up, because it was really tough in the fall, because I had to put some JV guys in there that weren't quite ready for it. And they had a trial by fire, and they weren't really ready for that. I'd rather them come along slowly till they're ready for it. But next year I look forward to having those 4 guys back, and getting another guy. I'm going to have some tryouts and stuff coming up, getting another guy to join up with them to have us a good 5th man.
You certainly have a team that's led by Stephen Lauterbach. He finished 10th at the district tournament, 2nd straight year he's been all-district. He was 2nd at the district tournament the year before. What do you like most about his game?
Stephen plays his own kind of game. I always tell him he gives me an ice cream headache. He is a high-risk, high-reward type player, and that fits his personality, and it suits him well. I wouldn't recommend everybody play like that. But he shot his first round in the 60s this year, which only 1/10 of 1% of people can shoot in the 60s playing legal golf, and he did it at Robeson Ranch in the spring with a 69. And he played really well, and at district he just had a hard time hanging on. He had a really bad break on the 12th hole. He had a lost ball that hit a tree that wasn't as big around as your fist, and nobody could find the ball. And then the winds got up like 45 miles an hour, so you really struggled on the way in, and that'll disconcert you and you can't find the ball.
What do you look for him as he goes into his senior year? How can he improve and be even better than he already has been in his 3 years on the varsity?
More consistency. He is, like I said, a high risk, high reward. I'd look for him to play better 2 days in a row, because he would have like a really good round and then not as good a round in a lot of tournaments. And for us to get to where we need to be, I would like a little more consistency out of him and some of the other guys too.
How about Jacob Tatum? We mentioned him. He was not able to play in the fall. He came back in the spring, really delivered for you.
Oh yeah, Jacob, he's steady Eddie. I mean, he's not going to make like 6 or 7 birdies, but he's not going to make a lot of mistakes either. He and Steven are kind of polar opposites. He's our steady guy that you can always count on. He's going to get you somewhere between a 72 and a 77 every single time. Last year at regionals, he shot at 72, had 1 birdie, 1 bogey, 16 pars. You know, I'll take that every time. And like I said, he's just a very even-keeled player.
Grant Yoder, your skateboarder, not allowed on skateboards anymore. First year on varsity. What did you think of his performance?
He did what you need to do at district. He shot his lowest round of the year when it counted the most. In the weather, the second day, came in with a 77. I was very proud for him. And he did a lot of maturing. You know, when he came back in the spring for his injury, I told him, I mean, you're going to have to mature fast and get used to this. You know, the fall is a little more laid back. It's not quite as intense, but the spring, you gear up and get ready for district so quickly that I needed him to mature a lot, and he came through. I mean, he shot his best round ever for me there the second day of district, and he earned second team all-district, did really well.
Nick Robert, he just finished up his second year on the varsity. What did you see from him this year?
Nick is a very talented player. He really is. I mean, he finished 4th in the state of Texas the year before out of all the individuals. And he just hit a rough patch there towards the end. I mean, the tournament we played right before district, he won. He was the #1 individual with a 73. But he had some struggles at district, which will happen with golf. I mean, you're never always good and at the top of your game at golf. It goes through peaks and valleys. So he struggled a little bit at district, but I look for him to rebound very strongly next year and to have these 4 together and find a 5th man to go with him. I think they'll be a real formidable team.
Like you say, your youth this year, you do have 4 returners going into next year, but your youth was both a blessing and a curse at times. It should be more of a blessing for next year, shouldn't it?
Yes, it should be. I'm going to have 2 seniors, in Jacob and Steven, that have been 4-year starters. They have played in the top 5 all 4 years they've been in high school. There's no situation, nothing that they have not seen. Nick is coming back. It will be his 3rd year playing all varsity, and I look for big things from him. And Grant's moving right along. I mean, he really earned his spot with those guys this year, and you know, by playing so well at district. And I just got to find a 5th man from, I don't know, I've got a large group of 8th graders. I'm hoping them to come out and I'll find that 5th man amongst them, or one of the JV guys step up and fill in for that 5th spot.
Yeah, Chris, you say you're looking for that 5th man. Before we know it, August 1st will be here. Tryouts will obviously start for your program.
Yeah, August 1st at 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to have tryouts at Ocala. If anybody needs any information on it, they can go to our golf website. You can get the McKinney High School website. Just go to the athletics page and click on McKinney Lane Golf, and got an announcements page there. It gives all the info that the kids need, and if they'll just contact me ahead of time and let me know, I'll reserve them a spot and see if we can find that 5th guy. Hopefully, you know, be the guy that get us over the top, maybe.
Chris, we appreciate the time. Best of luck going forward.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Chris Rednour, head coach of the McKinney Lions golf team. Yes, they are looking for that 5th man, and before you know it, they'll have it as they go into next season. And that is our show for today. That does it for the school year. We want to thank Gary Hardin and Chris Rednour for joining us. Thanks to Carla Schumacher, our producer Mike Bruck, for their hard work all year long. This show just isn't made possible without those 2. Remember, if it's McKinney ISD Athletics, it's on Sports Talk. I'm Ted Emmerich. Until August, see you next time.